So introduce yourself. Hi. You're
Les Williams, Captain Les Williams.
Of the what group?
I was with the, well, you can put down the 477th group.
477th group.
Right.
And so you escorted the bombers, World War II?
Yes.
And as I recall, there's no bombers were shot down when you guys were involved?
That's right. That's a record that can't be matched anymore.
I don't think so, sir. I don't think so. You did a great job. When you were up there, were you thinking of how meaningful you were, or how symbolic what you're doing for America, especially for Black Americans?
Oh yeah, I was definitely patriotic and glad I was in that position, and also glad to get out of it too.
What kept you going? What kept you keep plugging? I mean, that takes courage to
You better keep going. If you don't keep going, you won't go anywhere at all. You better keep alert all the time.
100%. And also, that's a good, meaningful message for the young folks nowadays, no?
Definitely.
And what would you like to say to the young folks? What message would you like to say to the young folks?
Never say die. Never say die.
What does that mean?
That means don't give up. If you got a project going, protecting those bombers, don't give up. Whatever you do, stay in it until you get out the way you want to get out.
You guys went through your life, but also through hardship in America, because that was segregation at that time too. There was segregation at that time too, right? Yeah, and that was emotionally shocking too.
Definitely.
And how were you able to cope? What's your secrets of coping?
What's the secret?
Of coping with all that, you know? Without giving up, you know?
Never give up.
Yeah, really. Just keep plugging and...
Yeah. You still have this goal, you're going to come through okay. You got to have the faith.
The faith. And how many kids you got now? How many grandkids?
Well, I've got 5 grandkids.
And you still see them every year?
Oh yeah.
And I bet you they regard you as a folklore, a legend. Yeah, And now, how do you guys celebrate every year? You know, every year there should be a Tuskegee.
We have a convention.
A reunion.
But getting smaller and smaller. The originals are becoming smaller and smaller.
Wow.
The next grade, the next family grade, son or grandson or whatever. A lot of them are still around. We're gone.
We're all gone.
Yeah, we're all gone.
And how do you honor them? Do you have a special ceremony over there?
We still, but it's very sparsely attended.
Of course.
Yeah, nobody to attend it.
Now, when is this? When is the usual day to attend this?
Well, it's usually in the summer, around August.
Outstanding, and you know, all the work. And were you aware of how far the Nazis were in their technology? I mean, you know, you guys were fighting jets. You were the first fighter jets.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And we got one, the first day.
The first.
Mr. Williams, can you sign my poster? Is Penny here?
You know Penny?
I know both your daughters and your grandson. I'm a Mutai from the South also. My mother was from Mutai, but we know you. Yeah. Yes. And did you see the awards? Did you see the awards last night? Did you see the awards last night?
If you want a picture of it, ever get around on the backside of the flag.
Oh, we got it on video too. This is beautiful.
But okay. Maisha, M-A-I. My name is Maisha, M-A-I-S-H-A. M-A-I-S-H-A. S-H-A. No.
saving all the pilots, saving bombers.
Yeah.
Outstanding. And how are you related to the Red Tails?
I'm Vice President of the Bill Campbell chapter of Tuskegee Airmen. Anybody could join the Tuskegee Airmen Inc. That's why I'm a member.
And what's your name?
Jay Richardson.
And how can we contact you?
Here, I'll give you one of my business cards. Excellent.
And about how many escorts did they do in World War II?
Oh, over 15,000. They escorted over 15,000 bombers. For the first 200 escorts, they did not lose a bomber. But there were approximately 25 bombers that were lost by enemy airplanes. They had a record of 200 without a loss.
Wow.
That's why they were by request. The bombers wanted them to fly their escort. But if you take in consideration that a bomber string could be 200 miles long, so each fighter only had a section of that whole bomber string. So everybody and all the bombers wanted the Tuskegee Airmen. They couldn't do it. They could only take a small portion of that bomber. And Colonel Davis, Benjamin O. Davis, told the Tuskegee Airmen when they first got the opportunity to escort the bombers, under no circumstances do you leave the heavies. I don't care what happens, do not leave the heavies. What's more important, a German sticker on the side of your goddamn airplane or 10 lives? If you do leave and go off on personal glory, do not come back to this air base because you'll be court-martialed and shipped home. And there was one pilot, one Tuskegee Airman that did it.
Whoa!
And he was court-martialed and shipped back to the United States. I met him about 3 years ago.
Dishonorable discharge?
No. He was court-martialed for disobeying an order and shipped back. Yeah, no, he didn't get court-martialed. Well, he got court-martialed to a certain extent because he disobeyed an order.
But honorably discharged, though?
No, he didn't have a dishonorable discharge. He was still there.
All right.
Then another thing that you should look up for, especially with Les, it's called...
What's his nickname?
His name is Les Williams.
And what's his call name?
Oh, he didn't have a call name. Get on the computer on YouTube and look up Freedom Field Mutiny. They're talking an awful lot about Les.
Wow. You know, I mean, the whole Tuskegee was an experiment.
No, well, there were two. Now remember, 1925, there was a Tuskegee experiment with syphilis. It was done at the institution. They injected African Americans with the syphilis to find out what would happen to them and what they could do to cure it. Then in 1939, Roosevelt had the Tuskegee experiment where they opened up aviation, civilian aviation, to African Americans. They could get a pilot license. Then when the war started, the NAACP, Black American League, African American newspapers jumped all over Roosevelt. Now remember, he needed the African vote in order to stay as president. They wanted African Americans to join the Air Force. So that was the second Tuskegee experiment. And that almost failed also.
I heard that Mrs. Roosevelt was involved somehow.
Well, what happened, that's kind of a myth. Mrs. Roosevelt and Mrs. Dewey went down to Tuskegee. There was a conference down there, and they went down for the conference. She decided to go to Moultrie Field, which is where they got their first training. They were done by civilian pilots. They were being trained in Stearman's, which was the biplane. She asked Chief Johnson, who was in charge of the group of trainings, can you people really fly? And Chief Johnson said, come with me. They put her in the back of a little Piper Cub. Secret Service were up there, they didn't know what the hell to do. They phoned up Roosevelt. They asked him what to do. Roosevelt said, hey, she's got a mind of her own. If she wants to go up, she goes up. They flew for about a half an hour, landed, and and she donated, I think, $100,000 towards the airfield at Tuskegee, which is about 10 miles away, to make that into a military base. So that's how that flight came about. It had no play at all in the white newspapers. It had very little play in the African-American newspapers. But she came kind of like the unofficial mother of the Tuskegee Airmen.
And who is the founder of the Tuskegee Airmen then?
Well, I guess it would be E.O. Davis Jr., Benjamin O. Davis Jr. He was the second African-American to graduate from West Point. But he had 4 years of the silent treatment. In other words, no cadet would talk to him socially. They would only talk to him as far as school was concerned. So for 4 years, he slept by himself, he ate by himself, he had no social life at all. So when the first group of 13, B.O. Davis was one of them, he was a second lieutenant. So he became the commanding officer of the 99th. So he would be the first officer of the Tuskegee Airmen. His father, B.O. Davis Sr., was a brigadier general in the Army. That was a political move by Roosevelt. He was the only brigadier in the Army. During World War II, there was no African-American above the rank of lieutenant colonel. They never made anything above that. At the end of World War II,
when is the celebration day for Tuskegee? You said they celebrate every year. What's up? Well, when is that? August what?
It's over. But it was August,
not here today.
August the 9th.
August 9th, where?
In Texas. Dallas.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Williams. All right.
Let me get your heart rate up. I'll tell you that real quick. Are you ready?
And say it one more time, Mr. Williams. What's the message for the future?
Oh, there it is. There it is. The message for the future.
Never give up. There's a motto, a saying in your for Tuskegee.
Never give up.
Never give up. Thank you, Jay.
You're welcome.